I realize it doesn't do us any good to know if we don't know how to do. Knowledge is power, but knowledge has no heart. We don't learn to know, we learn to do. All the information in the world is going to make a person successful. It's like the guy who has 3 PhDs, one in philosophy, one in psychology, one in sociology. He doesn't have a job, but at least he can explain why. So I created what I call the Parable of the Kite, which is the practical application of the understanding, or putting the understanding of these 4 elements of the universe into practice and into play in our everyday lives. Obedience, free will agency, opposition in all things, and obviously our conscience to be our guide. Parable of the Kite is very, very simple to understand, and guaranteed it's the practical application plan, action plan, to take advantage of these 12 highest universal laws of life-changing leadership that I talk about in The Art of Significance. Parable: father is out in a park with his young son flying a kite. And the kite is up in that blue, cloudless, beautiful, windy sky. The little guy has a hold of the kite string, and his father says to his boy, "What holds the kite up in the sky?" His little guy says, "The wind." His dad says, "No, the wind doesn't hold the kite up. The string holds the kite up in the sky." Confused, his little guy says, "Daddy, the string doesn't hold the kite up. The string holds the kite down." His father smiles and says, "If you think so, let go of the string." As soon as the little guy lets go of the string, we all know what happens. The kite starts to flutter. It starts to fall from the sky, and the winds of change take that kite wherever the wind decides to take it. We've lost control of the kite. Now the little guy starts running after the kite. He finally catches the string, steps on it, holds tightly again onto that string, and what happens to the kite? It once again climbs up into that blue, cloudless, windy sky and becomes what it was meant to be, a kite. Let's debrief and turn it into the practical application of the 4 elements of our human experience. The kite represents our dreams, our goals, our desired results, our projected outcomes, and you can plug anything in there that you want. A perfect marriage, a wonderful relationship, awesome friendships. How about starting an entrepreneurial effort business where there's specific things that you need to do, obviously, but that is your goal, that is your dream. What do you want to do? The wind represents the opposition in all things. In an entrepreneurial effort, it's undercapitalization. It might be negative family members who don't encourage you to take that risk and say, just work for that same company for 30 years and get a gold watch. It might be negative friends around you who continually say, let go of the string. You don't have to do that. Let go of the string. The string then obviously represents the rules. Those 12 highest universal laws that we must commit to obey. Why? Through obedience is the only way we can control our destiny, change our stars, if you will, and actually almost guarantee that we can make that dream, that goal, that desired result, that projected outcome reality. Now, when the little kid lets go of the string, that represents the constant fake news temptations in the world. What are we supposed to believe? We're always so confused. And the little guy obviously succumbed to the temptations of the negativity in our society. Again, let go of the string, whatever that means to you. When the little kid finally starts chasing the string again, that represents his conscience kicking in. I should have never stopped obeying. I should have never let go of the string. What a drag. And obviously and subconsciously, we start understanding the negative influences in our lives. Remember, you hear me say it all the time, we become the average of the 5 people we associate with the most. If you hang around with 5 broke people, you're going to become the 6th. If you hang around with 5 whining, negative, blaming, complaining people, you're going to become the 6th. You put a healthy child in the same room with a sick child, most of the time you end up with 2 sick children. Moral of the story: to be disciplined, healthy, and significant, we must be willing to pay any price and travel any distance to associate with extraordinary human beings. Now it starts to make more sense. We have to judiciously choose the people we allow to influence us in our lives. Let go of the string. The little guy, by letting go of the string, chasing the kite string, and committing to holding onto that string tightly and never letting it go again, represents his conscience kicking in, saying, I have just learned my lesson, and I'm not going to do that anymore. I have suffered the specific consequence of disobedience to that law. Now, here's where it gets really cool. When the little kid, again, commits to obeying the rules, holding tightly onto that string, he realizes two things. Number one, no longer does he ever have to go out into a park and fly a kite with supervision. Isn't that leadership, management, parenting, coaching 101? It's what we do when the coach is not around that makes us a champion athlete. It's what we do when our employer's not around that makes us a champion employee. It's what we do when our parents are not around that makes us champion children. Obviously, we have to understand that when we take 100% responsibility for our actions and obey, not because it's expected by others, but because it's demanded of ourselves, we can take charge of our life, mitigate chance, willingly take risks because we know we're in more control of our destiny than we ever thought possible. And the last thing that this little kid learns that most of us forget that we always need to remember, no matter how many times we let go of the string, no matter how many times we make a bad choice using our free will agency in an inappropriate way, no matter how many times we blow it in a relationship or in a business transaction, we can once again grab tightly to that string. Yeah, it's always okay in the end, and if it's not okay, it's not the end. I challenge you to study the four elements of human performance: obedience, free will agency, opposition in all things, and letting our conscience be our guide. And then plugging and playing it in through this parable of the kite, and guaranteed, using both of these ideas, programs, video explanations, and putting them together, you can change your stars, you can control your destiny, and definitely you can become an artist of being fully alive.